The GPS showed my wife's car parked at Greenwood Cemetery for the third time this month, and my mother had been dead for 6 years. I sat in my Honda Accord 2 rows back, watching Emily's silver Lexus, the one I'd worked 70-hour weeks to help her buy, gleaming in the afternoon sun. October in Georgia meant the heat still clung to everything, and sweat trickled down my neck as I killed the engine. The Find My app on my phone had become my constant companion over the past 3 weeks, ever since I'd noticed the distance growing between us like a canyon neither of us acknowledged. Emily had said she was meeting her book club. Tuesday afternoons at 2 o'clock, every week for the past month. Discussing contemporary fiction over coffee and pastries, she'd told me, her green eyes bright with what I'd mistaken for genuine enthusiasm. I'd believed her because that's what you do when you've been married for 8 years. You trust. You assume the best. You don't imagine your wife lying to your face while mentally planning her next rendezvous. But book clubs don't meet in cemeteries. I'd stumbled onto the truth accidentally. Last Tuesday, I'd left work early with a migraine, the kind that makes light feel like knives in your skull. I'd taken my phone out to text Emily, ask her to grab some ibuprofen on her way home, when I noticed her location. Greenwood Cemetery. I'd stared at that pin on the map for 5 full minutes, my headache forgotten, trying to construct some rational explanation. Maybe someone from her book club had lost a family member. Maybe they were doing some weird literary tour of historical graves. Atlanta had plenty of notable burials. The explanations felt hollow even as I'd constructed them. I'd checked again on Thursday. She'd told me she was going to Target. The pin had shown our house. But on Friday, when she'd mentioned grabbing lunch with her sister Victoria, the pin had placed her at a Marriott off I-85. She'd been there for 2 hours and 17 minutes. I'd counted every minute, watching that dot stay perfectly still while my world tilted on its axis. Now, watching her car in the cemetery parking lot, my hands gripped the steering wheel hard enough to hurt. The rational part of my brain, the part that had made me a successful project manager at Hartwell Construction, kept insisting there had to be another explanation. The rest of me, the part that had noticed her new perfume, the extra care with her makeup, the way she angled her phone away when texting, knew better. A black BMW pulled into the lot, parking 3 spaces from Emily's Lexus. My stomach dropped. The driver's door opened, and a man stepped out. Tall, probably 6'2", with dark hair styled in that casually expensive way that screamed money. He wore charcoal slacks and a white button-down with the sleeves rolled up. Even from this distance, I could see he was fit, the kind of physique that came from personal trainers and gym memberships that cost more than my car payment. He walked toward Emily's car with the confidence of someone who'd made this trip before. Her door opened before he reached it. Emily stepped out, and my breath caught. She was wearing the navy dress I'd complimented last week, the one she'd claimed to have bought on sale at Nordstrom Rack. It hugged her figure in ways that made my chest tight. Her blonde hair, usually pulled back in a practical ponytail for her Tuesday errands, fell in soft waves around her shoulders. She'd done her makeup with care. Smoky eyes, the lipstick she usually reserved for date nights we hadn't had in months. She'd dressed up for him. They didn't embrace immediately. They stood a few feet apart, talking. I watched her laugh at something he said, that genuine, full-bodied laugh I hadn't heard directed at me in longer than I could remember. Then he reached out, tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, and the intimacy of that small gesture hit me like a physical blow. She leaned into his touch. My phone buzzed. A text from Emily. Book club running long. Don't wait on me for dinner. Love you. Love you. I read those words while watching her take his hand, watching them walk together down a path that wound between weathered headstones and ancient oaks draped in Spanish moss. They moved like a couple, comfortable with each other, his hand resting on the small of her back in a way that spoke of familiarity. I should have confronted them. Jumped out of the car, demanded answers, made a scene. That's what happened in movies. The betrayed husband storms up, righteous fury blazing, and everything explodes into dramatic confrontation. But I sat frozen, my mind racing through a different calculation. If I confronted them now, in the heat of discovery, I'd be operating on emotion. Emily was a paralegal. She'd spent 5 years working at Patterson and Klein, one of Atlanta's most aggressive family law firms. She knew every trick, every strategy, every way to position herself advantageously in a divorce. And I had nothing. Just a location pin and a sick feeling in my gut. I needed more than that. I needed documentation, evidence, proof that would stand up not just in court, but in the eyes of our friends, our families, everyone who would inevitably take sides when this detonated. I took out my phone and started recording video, zooming in as far as the camera would allow. My hands shook, making the image unstable, but I could see them clearly enough. Walking, talking, his arm around her shoulders now, her head tilted toward him. They disappeared behind a mausoleum, and I stopped recording. 11 minutes and 43 seconds of footage. Not enough. Not nearly enough. But it was a start. The router admin panel glows on my study wall, projected from my laptop. White text on black background. Numbers and codes that tell me everything I need to know. I've been staring at these logs for 40 minutes now. My coffee's gone cold on the desk beside me, untouched since I poured it. The October evening presses against the windows, dark coming early these days. Emily's in the kitchen. I can hear her moving around, the familiar sounds of her evening routine. Water running. Cabinet doors opening and closing. The electric kettle clicking on. She thinks I'm working. That's what I told her when I came straight to the study after dinner. Need to review some project specs for the Hartwell bid. She'd nodded, barely looking up from her phone, probably texting him. The MAC address jumps out at me again. DC, A6, 32, 8B, 4F, 21. Unknown device. Not my laptop, not my phone, not Emily's iPhone, not the smart TV or either of our tablets. I've checked every device in this house against the router's connected device list. This one doesn't belong, but it's been here. Multiple times. I scroll through the connection logs, watching the pattern emerge with the cold clarity of a construction blueprint. Every Tuesday evening for the past 6 weeks. Device connects at 7:47 p.m., give or take 3 minutes. Disconnects around 10:15 p.m. Offline reading evenings, she'd called them. Said she needed to disconnect from screens, just her and a physical book and some herbal tea. Quality time with herself. I'd thought it was sweet. Healthy. Had encouraged it even. The traffic logs tell a different story. I click through to the bandwidth analysis, sorting by device. The unknown MAC address shows consistent data usage during those Tuesday connections. Not heavy streaming, but steady. And when I trace the destination IPs, they resolve to one primary service: Netflix. Not our Netflix account. I check our family plan. Nothing unusual in the watch history. Just Emily's true crime documentaries and my occasional action movie. But this device is streaming Netflix. Someone else's Netflix. I pull up my phone, open the photos from the cemetery, zoom in on the man's face. Tall, confident, expensive casual wear. The kind of guy who probably has a premium subscription to everything. The kind of guy who'd bring his tablet over to his girlfriend's house on Tuesday evenings while her husband works late. My jaw clenches so hard my teeth ache. I dig deeper into the router logs, exporting the data to a spreadsheet. Timestamps, duration, bandwidth usage, IP destinations. The kind of documentation that tells a story more reliable than any witness testimony. September 17th. Device connected 7:51 p.m. 10:12 p.m. Data to Netflix servers 4.2 GB. September 24th. Device connected 7:44 p.m. 10:18 p.m. Data to Netflix servers 3.8 GB. October 1st. Device connected 7:49 p.m. 10:09 p.m. Data to Netflix servers 4.1 GB. every single Tuesday. While I worked 70-hour weeks at Hartwell, pouring myself into projects, coming home exhausted. While she texted me sweet messages about missing me, about being proud of how hard I work. While he sat on my couch using my Wi-Fi, watching his streaming services. The kettle clicks off in the kitchen. I hear Emily humming softly, some tune I don't recognize. Happy, content. I should confront her right now. March out there with the laptop, show her the evidence, watch her face as the lies crumble. But I don't move. Because I'm thinking about the divorce. About her job at Patterson & Klein, one of the best family law firms in Georgia. About the 5 years she spent learning exactly how these cases work, exactly how to protect assets, exactly what documentation holds up in court. She's been preparing for this longer than I have. The router logs are good, but they're not enough. Any decent attorney could argue reasonable doubt. Maybe someone hacked our network. Maybe the logs are corrupted. Maybe I fabricated them out of paranoia. I need more. I open a new browser tab, start researching. Cybersecurity protocols, network breach documentation, ISP record subpoenas. The kind of technical evidence that stands up to legal scrutiny. And then I see it. A template for filing a formal security incident report. The kind you'd file if you discovered unauthorized access to your home network. The kind that creates an official paper trail. The kind that can compel ISP records showing device location data, connection timestamps, cohabitation patterns. My fingers hover over the keyboard. This isn't just about catching her anymore. This is about building a case so airtight that her legal expertise won't matter. About turning her own Tuesday evening lies into documented evidence of infidelity and deception. I start typing. Detailed incident report. Unknown device MAC address. Unauthorized network access. Suspicious traffic patterns. Request for full investigation and ISP coordination. Honey, Emily's voice floats from the kitchen. Do you want some tea? No thanks, I call back, my voice steady. Amazing how calm I sound. I'm good. Okay, I'm going to read for a bit. Read. Write. I hear her footsteps on the stairs, heading up to the bedroom. Her Tuesday evening routine, even though it's Wednesday. Maybe he's busy tonight. Maybe she's missing him. I turn back to the projected logs on the wall, and that's when I notice something new. Something I missed before. The device isn't just connecting on Tuesdays. I scroll further back in the logs before I started paying attention, before I knew to look. And there it is, the same MAC address, connecting during random weekday afternoons. Times when I'm always at work. Times when she's supposedly working from home. January 23rd, 2:17 p.m., 4:33 p.m. February 14th, 1:45 p.m., 5:12 p.m. March 8th, 2:03 p.m., 4:47 p.m. Valentine's Day. He was here on Valentine's Day. The day I'd surprised her with roses at her office, taken her to that expensive Italian place downtown. She'd seemed distracted during dinner, checking her phone. I'd thought she was stressed about a case. She was probably texting him, apologizing for cutting their afternoon short. The evidence sprawls across my screen. Months of deception, documented in router logs and connection timestamps. Not just an affair, a relationship. A pattern of calculated lies while she smiled at me across the dinner table, while she said, "I love you" before bed, while she let me believe we were building a life together. My hands are shaking now. I grip the edge of the desk, force myself to breathe. The cybersecurity report sits half-finished on my screen. I could file it tonight. Start the official process. Get the ISP records subpoenaed. Build the case. But first, I need to secure my own position. I navigate to the router's device management panel. Find the unknown MAC address in the connected devices list. My cursor hovers over the option. Ban device. One click, and he's locked out. No more Tuesday evenings on my network. No more streaming his Netflix while sitting on my furniture touching my wife. But if I ban it now, They'll know I'm onto them. They'll get careful, delete messages, create alibis, prepare their defense. Unless I make it look like a technical issue. I open another window, start researching common router problems. Firmware updates that reset device permissions. Security patches that randomly boot unauthorized devices. The kind of technical glitches that happen all the time. I can ban the device. Export all the logs first. Save every shred of evidence. Then trigger a firmware update that makes the ban look automatic, like a security feature kicking in. She won't suspect I know. She'll just think there's a Wi-Fi problem. Maybe complain about our internet service. Maybe tell him he can't come over for a while until it's fixed. And while she's annoyed about the technical difficulties, I'll be building the case, filing the security report, subpoenaing the ISP records, documenting every connection, every timestamp, every piece of evidence that shows exactly what she's been doing in our home. The router admin panel glows on the wall like a courtroom exhibit. Evidence projected large enough to see from across the room. Large enough that there's no denying it. No explaining it away. I hear footsteps on the stairs. Emily coming back down. "I forgot my tea," she calls. I minimize the browser windows, pull up the Hartwell project specs. By the time she appears in the study doorway, I'm staring at construction blueprints like I've been working all along. She leans against the doorframe, mug in hand. Wearing the soft gray loungewear she saves for relaxing evenings. Hair pulled back. Face clean of makeup. Looking like the woman I married, the woman I thought I knew. "How's the bid coming?" she asks. "Good. Complex project, but manageable." She nods, takes a sip of tea. "Don't work too late, okay?" "I won't." She smiles, warm, genuine, loving, then turns and heads back upstairs. I wait until I hear the bedroom door close. Then I pull the router panel back up, staring at that MAC address. One click to ban it. One security report to file. One subpoena to request. And then we'll see how well her legal expertise serves her when the evidence is this thorough. I reach for my coffee, finally take a sip. It's cold and bitter. Perfect. The router logs export as a CSV file at 11:47 p.m. 372 kilobytes of evidence spanning 6 months. Each line a timestamp and MAC address, proving someone else has been living in my house while I worked 70-hour weeks to pay for it. I save 3 copies. One to an encrypted USB drive, one to a cloud storage account Emily doesn't know exists, one to an external hard drive I keep in my truck. Then I clear the browser history and shut down the laptop. Upstairs, water runs in the master bathroom. Emily's nightly routine. Makeup removal, moisturizer, the elaborate skincare regimen she swears prevents aging. 20 minutes, usually. Enough time. I open the router admin panel again and navigate to the access control settings. The unfamiliar MAC address sits in the connected devices list. DCA632-8B 4F21. Last connection, 7:43 p.m. today. Duration, 2 hours, 11 minutes. I was stuck in a budget meeting with the Riverside Project stakeholders until 9. Emily had texted me at 7:15, making salmon for dinner. "Want me to save you a plate?" He was already here by then, in my house. Eating my food, probably. Streaming his Netflix on my internet while my wife cooked him dinner. The water shuts off upstairs. I click block device and confirm. The router processes the command. DCA632-8B 4F21 moves to the banned list. Next time he tries to connect, he'll get an authentication error. Most people assume it's a Wi-Fi glitch. They restart their phone, forget the network, reconnect. When that doesn't work, they ask the homeowner to check the router. And Emily will have to explain why some strange device needs access to our home network. Or she won't mention it at all. She'll tell him the Wi-Fi's been acting up, make an excuse, keep him away from the house for a while. Either way, I've disrupted their comfortable pattern. I close the laptop and head upstairs. Emily's in bed already, propped against pillows with her phone. She's changed into a silk nightgown, the green one I bought her for Christmas. Her hair's damp from the shower, face scrubbed clean. "Hey," she says, glancing up. "You were down there a while. Everything okay?" Router was acting weird, slow speeds. I pull off my shirt, toss it in the hamper. Ran some diagnostics. And? Should be fine now. Updated the firmware. She nods, attention already back on her phone. "I saved you salmon. It's in the fridge." "Thanks. I ate at the office." A lie, but my stomach's too knotted to consider food. I shower quickly, letting hot water beat against my neck and shoulders. The migraine's building again. That familiar pressure behind my left eye. I've had 3 this week. Stress-induced, according to the doctor. He suggested meditation, regular sleep, reducing my workload. He didn't know my wife was sleeping with someone else. When I come back to the bedroom, Emily's turned off her lamp. She's curled on her side, facing away from me. I slide under the covers, keeping to my edge of the mattress. There's a foot of space between us. When did that happen? When did we start sleeping like strangers? "Love you," she murmurs into the darkness. The same words she texted me this afternoon while holding another man's hand in a cemetery. "Love you too," I say. Wednesday morning, I call in sick to work. First time in 2 years. My assistant, Jennifer, sounds concerned. Asks if I need anything, promises to handle the Riverside site inspection. "Just a migraine," I tell her. "I'll be back tomorrow." Emily's already left for the firm. She kissed my forehead before she went, told me to rest, promised to pick up my prescription refill on her way home. The performance is flawless. I wait 30 minutes after her Lexus pulls out of the driveway, then I get to work. First stop, Reno Security Solutions, a cybersecurity firm in a strip mall off Highway 395. I found them online last night. They specialize in home network security audits and forensic analysis. The kind of work that holds up in court. The consultant who meets me is younger than I expected, maybe 30, with thick-framed glasses and a University of Nevada hoodie. His name is Tyler Brooks. "So, you think someone unauthorized has been accessing your home network?" He sits across from me in a cramped office that smells like energy drinks and electronics. "I know they have." I hand him the USB drive. 6 months of router logs. Unknown MAC address, consistent connection pattern, streaming activity during times when my wife claimed to be reading offline. Tyler plugs in the drive and pulls up the CSV file. His eyes scan the data, fingers flying across his keyboard. "This is pretty detailed. You exported these yourself?" "I'm a project manager. I know my way around documentation." He nods, still scrolling. "Okay, so this MAC address, DCA6328B4F21, first appears January 14th. Last connection was yesterday evening. Always the same device, always during specific time windows." He looks up. "You understand what this suggests?" "That someone's been in my house without my knowledge or permission, accessing my private network. That's unauthorized access, isn't it?" "Potentially. Depends on whether your wife gave them the password." "Without my consent? To my network? In my house?" Tyler leans back in his chair. "Look, I'm not a lawyer, but from a cybersecurity standpoint, this is definitely a breach of your network security. I can generate a formal incident report documenting the unauthorized device access, the data usage patterns, the timeline. That report can be used to request ISP records through legal channels. How long does that take? The report? I can have it done by end of business today. Subpoenaing ISP records, that's a legal process. You'll need a lawyer to file the request, usually as part of a civil case. Divorce proceedings, for example." I meet his eyes. "How much for the report?" $500 for the analysis and documentation. Another $250 if you need me to testify as an expert witness later." I pull out my credit card. "Do it." By 3 p.m., I'm sitting in a law office in downtown Reno. Not Patterson and Klein, Emily's firm. That would be stupid. Instead, I'm at Brennan and Associates, a practice that specializes in high-asset divorce cases. The attorney, Victoria Brennan, is in her 50s with steel gray hair and sharp eyes. She reviews the Reuter logs on her laptop while I sit across from her desk. "This is good," she says finally. "Very good. It establishes a pattern of the affair partner being present in the marital home, which in Nevada can factor into property division and alimony determinations." Emily's a paralegal at Patterson and Klein. She knows family law. Victoria's expression doesn't change. I'm aware of Emily's employment. Patterson handles mostly uncontested divorces and custody agreements. This will be contested, and it will involve digital forensics. That's not their specialty. She closes the laptop. Here's what happens next. You file for divorce citing adultery. We submit the cybersecurity report as evidence of the affair partner's presence in the marital home. We subpoena ISP records from your home internet provider. Those will show the exact times the device was connected, corroborating your router logs. We also subpoena cell tower records for your wife and the unknown device, which will show when they were in the same location. How long does this take? Nevada requires a minimum 6-week waiting period from filing to finalization, but contested cases usually take 4 to 6 months. Given the evidence you have, I expect Emily's attorney will push for settlement rather than going to trial. What about the house? Marital property, so normally it would be split. But Nevada courts can award a larger share to the non-cheating spouse, especially when the affair partner was brought into the marital home. We'll argue that her actions constitute marital waste and emotional harm. I think about Emily upstairs last night, telling me she loves me, making salmon for dinner while her lover streamed Netflix in my living room. What do you need from me? Victoria pulls out a legal pad. First, don't confront her. Don't mention the logs, the tracking, any of it. Act normal. Second, document everything. Any suspicious behavior, late nights, unexplained absences. Third, secure your finances. Open a separate bank account, redirect your paycheck, document all marital assets. Fourth, change your passwords, email, cloud storage, everything. If she's been having an affair, she might be preparing her own exit strategy. She texted me, "Love you," yesterday while she was with him. Victoria's pen pauses. That's calculated. She's maintaining the facade while she figures out her next move. The fact that she's a paralegal means she knows exactly how to protect herself in a divorce. We need to move faster. She slides a contract across the desk. 5,000 retainer. I'll file the papers by Friday. The moment she's served, the clock starts. ISP subpoenas, asset freezes, everything. I sign without reading it. Thursday evening, Emily comes home with my migraine prescription and Thai takeout from the place on 4th Street. She's cheerful, affectionate, kisses me when she walks in, asks about my day, tells me about a difficult client at the firm. We eat pad thai on the couch and watch a nature documentary. Her head rests on my shoulder. Her hand finds mine. "I'm glad you're feeling better," she says during a commercial break. "Yeah, much better." My phone buzzes. A text from Tyler Brooks. "Report complete. Sent to your secure email. Let me know if you need anything else." Emily glances at my screen. "Work?" "Just Jennifer, checking on the Riverside project." She nods, snuggling closer. On TV, a lioness stalks a gazelle through tall grass. Patient. Methodical. Waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The morning I file the divorce papers, Emily texts me a photo of a latte with a heart in the foam. "Thinking of you. Hope your meeting goes well." I'm standing in the lobby of Patterson and Klein, her law firm, with a courier envelope containing discovery requests and a subpoena for their IT department. The irony isn't lost on me. Mr. Brennan will see you now, the receptionist says. Not Victoria Brennan, my attorney. Her husband, David Brennan. Senior partner, Emily's boss. His office overlooks downtown Reno, the Sierra Nevada visible in the distance. He doesn't stand when I enter. I appreciate you coming in before we serve your wife, he says. Professional courtesy. I want to know if she's having an affair with someone at this firm. He steeples his fingers. I can't discuss employee relationships. The router logs show someone was in my house, repeatedly, on weekday afternoons when I was at work. I place a folder on his desk. Emily's timesheet records for the past 6 months. She billed clients for hours she wasn't in the office. His expression doesn't change, but he opens the folder. February 14th, she logged 8 billable hours. Her car was at my house from 1:47 to 4:23 p.m. March 22nd, 7 hours billed. She was home from 2:15 to 5:40. I lean forward. Either she's committing timesheet fraud, or your firm is complicit in giving her cover for an affair. These are serious allegations. The router logs are time-stamped. Her car's GPS is time-stamped. Your billing records are time-stamped. I pull out another document. This is a notice of intent to subpoena all of Patterson & Klein's timekeeping records for Emily Garrett for the past year, along with building security footage, keycard access logs, and parking garage records. He closes the folder. What do you want? The truth. Is she sleeping with someone who works here? No. He meets my eyes. I've reviewed our security footage after your attorney contacted us. Emily left the building on every date you flagged. She returned later and adjusted her timesheet entries to cover the gaps. So she's been lying to you too. We're conducting an internal investigation. He slides a business card across the desk. This is our IT director, Paul Simmons. He's prepared to testify that the timesheet modifications were made without supervisory approval. We'll cooperate fully with your discovery requests. I pocket the card. Why? Because timesheet fraud is grounds for termination and potential bar complaints. We don't protect attorneys who bill clients for hours they didn't work, regardless of the reason. He stands. Your wife is talented, but she's put this firm at risk. We'll be terminating her employment effective immediately. She doesn't know yet? She's in a deposition across town. She'll be informed when she returns. He extends his hand. I'm sorry this happened. For what it's worth, I don't believe the affair involved anyone from this firm. We've accounted for all our staff during the relevant time periods. I shake his hand and leave. The cybersecurity report from Tyler Brooks arrives that afternoon. 23 pages of technical analysis, network topology diagrams, and forensic evidence. The unknown device, a Samsung Galaxy S22, connected to our home network on 47 separate occasions over 6 months. The MAC address traces to a phone purchased at a Verizon store in Carson City. Tyler included screenshots of the network traffic. Netflix streaming, yes, but also something I hadn't noticed in my initial review. File transfers. Large file transfers from Emily's laptop to the unknown device. Photos, videos, documents. She'd been sharing files with him on my network, using my bandwidth in my house. The streaming service traffic routes to an account registered to someone named Ethan Walsh. Tyler included a note. Account holder information obtained through legal discovery request. Verizon confirmed device registration matches this name and provided service address. I Google the name. Ethan Walsh, 34, personal trainer at Elevation Fitness. The gym where Emily got her membership 8 months ago. His Instagram is public. Photos of him training clients, protein shakes, motivational quotes. Then I see it. A photo from Greenwood Cemetery posted 3 months ago. Peaceful spot for reflection. Mindfulness balance. The same cemetery where I watched them together. I scroll further. A photo of a latte with a heart in the foam. The same coffee shop Emily frequents. A shot of the Sierra Nevada at sunset, taken from what looks like my street. He's been documenting their affair in plain sight, just vague enough to avoid direct evidence. Victoria Brennan calls at 6:47 p.m. David just sent over Patterson and Klein's cooperation agreement. They're providing everything: timesheets, security footage, parking records. Emily's being terminated for timesheet fraud. I just left his office. He also included something interesting. Building security footage from February 14th shows Emily leaving at 1:34 p.m. with a man matching your description of her affair partner. They returned separately, her at 4:31, him at 4:47. He came to her office? Apparently they've been careless. David's IT director found emails between Emily and Ethan Walsh discussing meeting times. She used her work email. Victoria's tone sharpens. She's a family law paralegal. She knows better. She got comfortable. Comfortable gets you caught. Papers rustle on her end. I have the ISP records from the subpoena. Ethan Walsh's home internet shows simultaneous connections to streaming services during times when the unknown device was at your house. We can prove he was using his phone at your residence while also accessing his home network remotely. That's enough for cohabitation? In Nevada, we need to prove he was living there or had a consistent, ongoing presence. 47 visits over 6 months, including overnight stays based on connection duration, establishes a pattern. Combined with the file transfers, the timesheet fraud proving she was home during work hours, and the witness testimony you can provide about their relationship, we have a strong case for fault-based divorce. Nevada is a no-fault divorce state, but fault still matters for property division and alimony. Adultery, especially with evidence of deception and financial fraud, gives us leverage. What's next? We serve her tomorrow. At home, not at work. David requested we wait until after her termination meeting. She'll be served with divorce papers, a restraining order preventing disposal of assets, and a notice that her devices are subject to forensic examination. Forensic examination? The file transfers on your home network constitute potential evidence destruction. We're entitled to examine her laptop and phone to recover deleted communications. Victoria pauses. This is going to get ugly. She's going to realize how much evidence we have. Good. I'm in the study when Emily comes home at 8:15 p.m. I've set up the projector, the same one we use for movie nights. The router admin panel glows on the wall, 10 feet wide, impossible to miss. She appears in the doorway still in her work clothes. Her face is blotchy, makeup smudged. She's been crying. They fired me, she says. David called me into his office and… She stops, seeing the projection. What is that? Our home network logs. She steps closer, squinting at the display. I watch her eyes track across the screen, reading the MAC addresses, the timestamps, the connected devices. Her laptop, her phone, my laptop, and DCA6 32-8B 4F21. I don't understand. I click to the next screen. Traffic analysis. Netflix streaming to Ethan Walsh's account. File transfers from her laptop to the unknown device. 47 separate connection sessions, each one time-stamped and logged. February 14th, I say. Valentine's Day. You told me you had to work late, but the router shows you were home from 1:47 to 4:23 p.m. So was Ethan Walsh's phone. She's frozen, staring at the wall. March 22nd, April 3rd, April 18th. I advance through the slides. Every Tuesday evening for the past 6 weeks. Every time you said book club ran long, his phone was connected to our network streaming Netflix in our living room. I can explain. You billed clients for hours you spent with him. Patterson and Klein has security footage of you leaving the office with him. They have your emails discussing meeting times. They fired you for timesheet fraud. Her hand finds the door frame, gripping it. You've been spying on me. I've been monitoring my own network. You brought him into my house. You used my internet connection to transfer files to him. You committed timesheet fraud to cover your affair. I stand, advancing to the next slide. This is the cybersecurity report documenting the unauthorized device access. It's been submitted to my attorney along with ISP records proving Ethan Walsh was here on 47 separate occasions. This is insane. You can't. I already have. I pick up the envelope from my desk. You're being served tomorrow morning. Divorce petition, asset freeze, and a motion for forensic examination of your devices to recover deleted communications. She stares at the envelope like it might bite her. The device has been banned from the network, I continue. MAC address blocked at the router level. Ethan Walsh's phone will never connect to this network again. You can't do this, her voice cracks. We can work this out. We can go to counseling. You brought him here, into our home. You lied to your employer, committed fraud, and documented everything on a network you thought I'd never check. I gesture to the wall of evidence. There's nothing to work out. She moves toward me, hand outstretched, and her elbow catches the tea mug on the corner of my desk. It tumbles, hitting the hardwood floor with a crack that echoes through the study. Earl Grey spreads across the floor in a dark puddle. We both stare at the broken pieces. I'll stay at my sister's tonight, she whispers. Good idea. She leaves without looking back. I hear her moving through the house, footsteps on the stairs, drawers opening and closing. The front door opens and shuts 20 minutes later. I'm alone with the router logs still projected on the wall, evidence of 47 betrayals glowing in the darkness. The projector still hums against the wall, casting the MAC address DCA6328B4F21 in sharp blue light across our living room. Emily stands frozen in the kitchen doorway, her hand still gripping the teacup that now lies in pieces at her feet. Earl Grey spreads across the tile in a dark pool. I don't, she starts. The device connected 47 times. My voice sounds distant, clinical. Tyler traced the MAC to an iPhone 14 Pro, registered to Ethan Walsh. Your personal trainer. Her face drains of color. The green eyes that used to make me forget bad days at work now dart between me and the projected logs, calculating. I can see her mind working through scenarios, weighing options. 5 years at a family law firm taught her how to navigate these situations from the other side. You hired someone to document unauthorized access to our home network. I advance the presentation with my laptop. New data fills the wall. ISP records show his device connected from inside our house. Not the driveway, not the street. Inside. The next slide displays a map Tyler generated from the Wi-Fi signal strength logs. The strongest connections cluster in our bedroom. Emily's hand moves to her throat. This is insane. You're tracking me like some kind of... like you tracked billable hours at Patterson and Klein? I pull up another window. Want to see those? Because Tyler also recovered your deleted calendar entries. The ones that say, lunch with Ethan during hours you billed to the Kim estate case, and the Chen divorce, and the Rodriguez custody battle. She steps backward. Her heel catches the broken ceramic, and she stumbles against the counter. Timesheet fraud is a serious ethics violation, Emily. Your firm bills $300 an hour. You falsified, by my count, 62 hours over 6 months. That's $18,600 in fraudulent billing. You can't prove. I already did. I close the laptop. The projection dies, leaving us in the dimming afternoon light. I sent everything to Robert Patterson this morning. He called me 2 hours ago. The color that drained from her face doesn't return. She slides down the cabinet until she's sitting on the floor, knees pulled up, surrounded by broken porcelain and cooling tea. They fired you at 3:15 p.m. today. Security escorted you out. They're conducting their own investigation now. I check my watch. You should be getting the email right about... Her phone buzzes on the counter above her head. Once, twice, 3 times. She doesn't reach for it. Robert also agreed to provide testimony in our divorce proceedings about your knowledge of family law strategy, your access to client files, your understanding of how to hide assets and manipulate discovery. Our divorce. She says it flatly, testing the words. The papers are in your car, glove compartment. I had them served electronically an hour ago, but Nevada law requires physical copies too. I move to the window. Our street looks normal. Mrs. Patterson walks her terrier. The Kramer's sprinklers run on schedule. Everything ordinary while my marriage dissolves in router logs and MAC addresses. You moved to Nevada, Emily's voice cracks. When? I established residency 6 weeks ago. Rented a house in Reno. Been flying back and forth. I turn to face her. Nevada has a 2-week minimum residency requirement for divorce filing. No fault. No waiting period beyond that. And Nevada is a community property state, which means... I know what it means. She pulls herself up using the counter edge. You planned this. I documented this. The distinction matters. You brought Ethan into our home, into our bedroom. You committed timesheet fraud. You lied for 6 months, longer probably. I just collected evidence. Evidence. She laughs, but it sounds like breaking glass. You sound like Tyler, like Victoria. When did you become this person? When did you? The question comes out harder than I intended. When did you become someone who brings her lover into the house I pay for? Who bills clients for hours spent... I stop. Take a breath. When, Emily? She doesn't answer. Instead, she picks up her phone, scrolls through what I assume are the termination emails from Patterson and Klein. Her thumb moves mechanically. Swipe, read, swipe, read. The ISP records show timestamps, I continue. Every connection. Tyler cross-referenced them with your phone's location data, the data you voluntarily share with me through Find My. We can prove Ethan was here, in our house, 47 times. We can prove you were here with him during 39 of those connections. You're going to use this in court. Not a question. Victoria already filed the preliminary motions. Asset freeze, forensic examination of your devices, temporary restraining order preventing you from accessing our joint accounts. I pull a folder from my briefcase on the dining table. The judge signed them at 4 p.m. Emily sets her phone down carefully, like it might explode. You froze our accounts. I froze your access. I can still pay bills, the mortgage, utilities. I slide the folder across the counter toward her. Your personal cards still work, the ones in your name only. But the joint checking, the savings, the investment accounts, those require court approval now. She opens the folder. I watch her read through the motions, the temporary orders, the evidence logs. Her paralegal training shows in how she flips pages, scanning for the critical details. She knows what to look for. You're claiming I misappropriated marital funds. She looks up. Based on what? Based on the Marriott charges, the restaurants, the gifts. I pull up my phone, show her the credit card analysis Tyler ran. $1,100 at Nordstrom Rack in August. You told me you bought work clothes, but the itemized receipt shows men's athletic wear. Size large shirts, 32 waist pants. I wear medium and 34. Her jaw tightens. The Marriott off I-85, 6 visits, $420 each time. You used our joint card. I scroll through more charges. Dinner at Canoe, lunch at Aria, drinks at St. Regis. All on days you claim to be working late or meeting Victoria for sister time. Victoria knows? The question comes out small. Victoria is my attorney. She knows everything. I pocket my phone. She's also disappointed. You two were close. Emily closes the folder. Her hands shake slightly. What do you want? I want you to sign the settlement agreement Victoria drafted. It's in there, page 43. You keep your car, your personal accounts, your retirement from Patterson and Klein, assuming they don't claw back the fraudulent billing. I keep the house, my retirement, my accounts, no alimony, clean split. That's not community property division. No, it's a generous offer considering the alternative. I lean against the dining table. The alternative is I provide all this evidence to the Nevada court, the router logs, the ISP records, the timesheet fraud, the misappropriated funds. Then the court decides division based on dissipation of marital assets and fault factors. Nevada is no fault. For the divorce, yes, but fault still matters for property division when one spouse wastes marital assets on an affair. I've had Victoria explain this 3 times. And it matters for spousal support, which you won't get anyway, but the court could award me. You don't need my money. No, I don't. I move toward the door. I need you to sign the agreement. You have 72 hours. After that, Victoria files the full evidence package and we go to litigation. Emily stays on the floor, surrounded by broken ceramic and cooling tea. Where are you going? Reno. My flight leaves at 7. I pick up my briefcase. The house is yours tonight. I'll have movers come next week for my things. The list is in the folder. Just like that. I stop at the door, turn back. She looks smaller somehow, diminished against the white cabinets and gray tile. For a moment, just a moment, I remember her laughing at something stupid I said on our honeymoon. The way she used to steal my fries even after ordering her own. How she cried at my mother's funeral and held my hand through the whole service. Then I remember the cemetery. The hand-holding with Ethan. The love you text while she planned another Tuesday afternoon in our bed. Just like that, I confirm. The door closes behind me with a soft click. The Honda starts on the first try. I pull out of our driveway, my driveway now, technically, and head toward the airport. My phone buzzes. Tyler. Logs exported, report filed with court. You're clear. Then Victoria. Client copy of all filings in your email. Call when you land. I merge onto I-85, heading north. The October sun slants through my windshield, making everything too bright. My head throbs with the beginning of a migraine, but I don't stop. Just keep driving toward the airport, toward Reno, toward whatever comes after 8 years of marriage end in router logs and MAC addresses. The 72 hours crawl past like days. I track them the way I've tracked everything else, methodically, obsessively. Each hour logged in my mind like timestamps in router data. Emily doesn't call, doesn't text. The house remains silent except for the hum of appliances and the occasional creak of settling wood. I work from the Reno apartment, reviewing construction timelines for the Hartwell project, while my phone sits face up on the desk. Every notification makes my pulse spike, but none are from her. Subcontractor bids. Material delivery confirmations. Project updates that feel surreal in their normalcy. 68 hours after I serve the papers, Victoria emails. No contact from opposing counsel. Settlement unsigned. Prepare for litigation. I stare at the message until the words blur. She's choosing the hard way. Of course she is. Emily's always been stubborn, competitive. It's what made her good at her job, the job she no longer has. Maybe she thinks she can still win somehow, leverage some angle I haven't considered. She doesn't understand that I've already won. The question now is just how much she'll lose. Full litigation, I tell Victoria over the phone an hour later. File everything. The cybersecurity report will be Exhibit A, she says. Tyler's documentation is airtight. Unauthorized device access, data exfiltration, network security breach. Combined with the ISP cohabitation evidence and the employment fraud from Patterson and Klein, We're looking at fault-based divorce with significant financial penalties. What about the streaming service logs? Beautiful detail. Shows the device wasn't just connected, it was actively used. Someone was watching content on Ethan Walsh's Netflix account from your home network while you were at work. Demonstrates both the affair and the deception. Judge Kowalski will appreciate the specificity. I lean back in the desk chair, looking out at the Reno skyline. Mountains in the distance, sharp and unforgiving. How long until we're in court? Nevada's fast. 6 weeks, maybe 8. Discovery will be minimal. You've already done the heavy lifting. Her attorney will try to suppress the digital evidence, claim privacy violations, but you had legal access to your own home network. Tyler's report establishes that. And the asset freeze? Holds until hearing. She can access the joint account for reasonable living expenses, but any large withdrawals trigger immediate review. The Lexus is in both names, so she can drive it, but she can't sell it. Same with the house. The house. Our house. The place where Ethan Walsh connected his phone to my Wi-Fi 47 times, where Emily billed Patterson and Klein for hours she spent in bed with him, where she kissed me goodbye each morning before spending her afternoons with someone else. I want the house, I say, in the settlement. We'll argue for it. Given her fraud and misconduct, combined with your primary financial contribution to the mortgage, you've got strong grounds. She'll probably want her car. She can have it. I helped her buy it anyway. The memory tastes bitter. Test driving Lexus models on a Saturday, her excitement over the silver ES350, my pride at being able to afford it. I'll get something else. Victoria's quiet for a moment. You're handling this well, considering? I'm handling it the only way I know how. By controlling what I can control. By turning emotion into evidence, betrayal into strategy. What happens after filing? She'll be served with the full complaint and evidence exhibits. Her attorney will see everything: the router logs, the cybersecurity report, the ISP records, the employment termination letter. They'll know exactly what they're facing. Good. There's one more thing, Victoria says. Tyler flagged something in his final analysis. The MAC address for Ethan's device shows connection attempts even on days when the logs don't show successful authentication. Like he tried to connect, but couldn't. I sit forward. When? Various times over the past 6 months. Most failed attempts, but a few successful connections that only lasted minutes. Tyler thinks Ethan might have been trying to access your network even when he wasn't physically present. Possibly saved the password and tried connecting from nearby locations. The apartment suddenly feels too small. How nearby? Wi-Fi range is typically 150 feet. Could be the driveway, the street, a neighbor's yard. Point is, he was trying to access your home network from outside the property. My jaw tightens. That strengthens the cybersecurity breach claim. Significantly, shows intentional, repeated, unauthorized access attempts. Tyler's adding it to his supplemental report. We discuss logistics for another 10 minutes, filing deadlines, discovery protocols, deposition schedules. The conversation is clinical, procedural. It helps. Focusing on process instead of emotion, on legal strategy, instead of the image of Emily and Ethan that still plays on loop in my mind. When I hang up, I open my laptop and pull up the router admin panel one more time. The logs are still there, time-stamped and damning. DCA632-8B 4F21. Ethan Walsh's digital fingerprint all over my home network. I implemented the MAC ban 3 weeks ago, the day after I discovered the connection. One click in the router settings and his device went dark, permanently blocked from accessing my Wi-Fi. He probably didn't even notice, just thought the network was down or the password changed. Emily might have, though. Might have wondered why her boyfriend couldn't connect anymore, why their private streaming sessions suddenly stopped working. I export the logs again, saving them to 3 different cloud storage accounts and an encrypted external drive. Tyler already has copies for his report, but I'm not taking chances. This evidence is my insurance policy, my proof that I'm not crazy or paranoid or imagining things. The data doesn't lie. Numbers don't gaslight you. My phone buzzes. Text from my supervisor at Hartwell. Board approved the timeline extension. You've got until January to wrap the Nevada project. Good work. January, 4 months. Enough time to finalize the divorce, sell the Georgia house, establish my new life here. The timing almost feels orchestrated, like the universe is confirming I made the right choice. I draft a response thanking him, then open my banking app. The joint account shows $3,847.62, down from the $8,200 that was there when the freeze went into effect. Emily's been spending grocery store charges, gas stations, a payment to her gym. All reasonable expenses that won't raise flags with the court. But there's also a $450 charge to a law firm I don't recognize. Brenner and Associates, Atlanta. She hired someone. Good. Let them review the evidence, explain to her exactly how badly she's positioned. Another charge catches my eye. $89.99 to Verizon Wireless. Phone bill probably. But we're on a family plan through AT&T, have been for years. I click the transaction details, but there's nothing more specific than the merchant name and amount. I open a new browser tab and search for Verizon Wireless plans. The $89.99 price point matches their unlimited single-line plan. Emily got a new phone. New number, new carrier, completely separate from our shared account. Smart. Probably her attorney's advice. Establish independent communication channels. Separate your digital life from your spouse's. Standard divorce strategy, especially for someone who understands how device tracking works. I pull up our AT&T family plan and check her line's usage. The last activity was 4 days ago, right before I served the papers. Since then, nothing. She's abandoned the number entirely, switched to the Verizon line I can't access. It's a small thing, barely worth noting in the scope of everything else. But it feels significant somehow, like she's erasing herself from our shared life one account at a time, cutting ties with surgical precision. I wonder if Ethan's doing the same, deleting evidence, scrubbing his digital footprint. Maybe Emily warned him, told him about the divorce and the evidence in the cybersecurity report. Maybe he's panicking, trying to protect himself. Or maybe he doesn't care. Maybe he thinks he's untouchable, that personal trainers don't face consequences for sleeping with married clients. He's wrong. Victoria's already drafting a separate civil complaint for alienation of affection. Nevada doesn't recognize the tort, but Georgia does, and that's where the affair occurred. We can sue Ethan Walsh for damages, make him pay financially for what he did to my marriage. It won't change anything, won't undo the betrayal or restore what's broken. But it will cost him, make him think twice before he does this to someone else's family. The sun sets over Reno, painting the mountains in shades of orange and purple. I watch from the apartment window, drinking coffee that's gone cold, thinking about router logs and MAC addresses and the digital breadcrumbs people leave without realizing it. Emily thought she was careful, used book club as cover, maintained her normal routine, kept up appearances. But she forgot about the technology, the invisible network connecting everything in our home. She forgot that data persists, that logs capture truth even when people lie. My phone buzzes again. Victoria. Filing submitted. Court date set for November 18th. Discovery deadline October 31st. You're officially in litigation. November 18th. 5 weeks away. The day everything becomes public record, when a judge reviews the evidence and decides how our 8-year marriage gets divided. I save the date in my calendar, then close my laptop and stand. The apartment is quiet, impersonal. Furniture I rented, dishes I bought at Target, walls I've never decorated. It's temporary, transitional, a placeholder life while the real one gets dismantled back in Georgia. But maybe that's okay. Maybe starting over means living in temporary spaces until you figure out what permanent looks like. I pour the cold coffee down the sink and rinse the mug, watching water swirl down the drain. In 5 weeks, I'll stand in a Nevada courtroom and watch my marriage officially end. The router logs will be entered as evidence, the cybersecurity report will be reviewed, and Emily will have to answer for every lie she told. Until then, I wait. I work. I document everything. And I keep the Mac ban active, Ethan Walsh's device permanently blocked from my network. Some connections, once severed, should stay that way. The gavel came down on January 9th. Judge Kowalski signed the final decree at 2:47 p.m. Nevada time. Victoria called me from the courthouse steps while I sat in my truck outside a Hartwell construction site, reviewing foundation specs that suddenly seemed trivial. "It's done," she said. "House is yours. Retirement account split per the settlement. She keeps the Lexus and her personal accounts. No alimony. Clean break." Emily had signed the revised settlement 3 days before the scheduled trial. Her attorney, some solo practitioner from Atlanta who'd reviewed the evidence and apparently advised immediate capitulation, had negotiated minor adjustments to the retirement split, but the core terms held. She'd looked at 47 time-stamped connections, Tyler's cybersecurity report, and Patterson and Klein's termination letter, and she'd folded. I never saw her again after that night in our kitchen. The movers packed my things while she stayed at her sister's. The house sold in February. I took the proceeds, paid off the mortgage, deposited the rest in an account she'd never touched. She got her half. The Lexus title transferred to her name only. Our AT&T family plan split into 2 individual accounts. 8 years reduced to paperwork and wire transfers. Ethan Walsh settled the alienation of affection suit for $35,000 in March. His attorney argued he didn't know Emily was married, despite the ring she wore in half their photos together. Victoria presented the router logs showing he'd been in our home, using our network, during hours when any reasonable person would know a spouse might exist. The settlement included a non-disclosure agreement. He can't talk about the affair, can't contact Emily, can't even mention her name publicly. I don't know if they're still together. Don't care, really. The money went straight into an investment account I'll probably never touch. Some victories are symbolic. Patterson and Klein referred Emily's timesheet fraud to the Georgia State Bar in April. I received a notice asking if I wanted to provide testimony. I declined. The router logs and employment records spoke clearly enough without me. Last I heard, she's working as a contract paralegal for a personal injury firm in Marietta. No benefits, no partnership track, just hourly work processing medical records and filing motions. She's good at her job, always was. She'll rebuild. People do. I stayed in Reno. The Hartwell project expanded into a multi-year development deal, and they offered me a permanent position managing their Western region operations. Better pay, better hours, mountains visible from my office window. I bought a small house in the foothills. 2 bedrooms, nothing fancy, but it's mine. Only my name on the deed. Only my devices on the network. I changed the default router password to something random and 20 characters long. Enabled WPA3 encryption. Set up network monitoring that alerts me to any unknown device attempting connection. Probably overkill, but old habits die hard. The migraine stopped around May. Stress-induced, like the doctor said. Remove the stress, remove the symptoms. I ran into Tyler Brooks at a coffee shop in September, almost a year after he'd generated that first cybersecurity report. He was meeting another client, someone else whose spouse had gotten careless with technology. We nodded at each other, professional recognition between people who'd worked together on something neither of us enjoyed. "You doing okay?" he asked while we waited for our orders. "Yeah, better." "Good." He collected his coffee, then paused. For what it's worth, you handled it right. Documentation over confrontation. Evidence over emotion. Most people don't have that kind of discipline. I thought about Emily's face when she saw the router logs projected on our wall. The broken teacup. The way she'd slid down the cabinet like her strings had been cut. Discipline, I repeated. Sure. He left, and I sat by the window watching tourists photograph the mountains. Couples, mostly. Holding hands, taking selfies, planning whatever came next in their lives together. I didn't feel bitter watching them. Didn't feel much of anything, really. Just tired. The kind of tired that comes from carrying something heavy for too long, then finally setting it down. The router logs are still saved on that encrypted drive in my desk drawer. I haven't looked at them in months. Don't need to. The MAC address. DCA632-8B 4F21 is burned into my memory anyway, along with the timestamps and connection durations and all the other data points that proved what I already knew. Sometimes I wonder if I should delete them. Purge the evidence. Erase that chapter completely. But I keep them, just in case. Insurance against what? I'm not sure. Maybe against forgetting? Maybe against repeating the same mistakes? Or maybe because they're proof that I'm not crazy, that the betrayal was real and documented and undeniable, that I didn't imagine it or overreact or misunderstand. The numbers don't lie. They never did. I went on a date last month. Sarah from accounting. No, Jessica. Jennifer? Doesn't matter. She was nice, laughed at my jokes, didn't check her phone constantly. We talked about hiking trails and construction projects and the best breweries in Reno. She asked if I'd been married before. Yeah, I said. Divorced last year. What happened? I could have told her about the router logs, the cemetery meetings, the 47 connections and the timesheet fraud and the MAC address that appeared in my network like a digital confession. Could have explained how I'd built a case with the precision of a construction blueprint, how I documented every lie until the evidence was irrefutable. Instead, I said, we grew apart. She nodded, like that explained everything. Maybe it did. Maybe the technical details don't matter to anyone but me. Maybe the how is less important than the fact that it ended. We finished dinner. I walked her to her car. She said we should do it again sometime. I haven't called her. The thing about trust is that it's binary. Either you have it or you don't. There's no partial trust, no conditional belief. And once it's broken, really thoroughly broken, I'm not sure it grows back. Not completely. Not in a way that doesn't leave you checking router logs and monitoring device connections and wondering what data you're missing. Emily taught me that. Not intentionally, but thoroughly. She also taught me that people are capable of extraordinary compartmentalization. That someone can kiss you goodbye in the morning, text "love you" in the afternoon, and spend the evening with someone else without apparent cognitive dissonance. That deception, practiced enough, becomes routine. I don't know if that makes me cynical or realistic. The distinction seems academic. It's January again. 13 months since the divorce was finalized. I'm sitting in my home office, in my house, on my network, reviewing quarterly reports for the Hartwell expansion. The work is good. Challenging. It fills the hours and pays well and doesn't require me to trust anyone with anything more important than construction timelines. My phone buzzes. Email notification. I glance at the screen expecting another subcontractor bid, but it's from an address I don't recognize. The subject line says, "I'm sorry." I stare at it for 30 seconds before deleting it unread. Some messages don't need to be received. Some apologies come too late to matter. And some connections, once severed, should stay that way. I close my laptop and walk to the window. The Sierra Nevada spreads across the horizon, snow-capped and indifferent. Mountains don't care about router logs or MAC addresses or the small betrayals that end marriages. They just exist, solid and unchanging, outlasting everything. There's comfort in that, in things that don't shift or lie or connect to networks they shouldn't access, in evidence that stays consistent, in data that doesn't gaslight you, in numbers that mean exactly what they say. I learned to trust those things instead. Router logs over promises, timestamps over words, documentation over faith. It's not the lesson I wanted to learn, but it's the one that stuck. And maybe that's enough. Maybe knowing what you can rely on, even if it's just data and evidence and the cold precision of network logs, is better than trusting blindly and getting burned. The mountains don't answer. They never do. But they're still there tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after that. Solid, verifiable, real. Sometimes that's all you need.